Well, the lights are red. I've got the red lights on in the background because there's a chance that Bitcoin could crash 70%. A 70% crash for Bitcoin. Could you imagine it? A lot of people can't. A lot of people can't. But it is a possible situation. If you look at what happened in this bull market for altcoins, they were definitely not the thing that stole the show. Bitcoin was the thing that stole the show. But Bitcoin today officially got below $100,000. Biggest headline of the day, Bitcoin slips below 100K. But some of these altcoins are just getting crushed right now. This is something I've been talking about, that it could very well be possible. Welcome to the Crypto Report, guys. This is a reality check for this market. It's not just Bitcoin slipping today. It's important to note that gold is falling. It's important to note that the stock market is falling. It's important to know that we're at a point where Jim Cramer came out today and said that we are officially in bear market territory. That's what Jim Cramer's saying right now. We've got a lot of stories to get through. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm just going to break down a lot of what I'm seeing here. First of all, is there a chance we see a recovery? Yes. Bitcoin just hit its 50-week moving average for the fourth time this cycle, and every time it's hit that, we have seen a new all-time high. So could we get a bounce? Sure, we could. Yeah, we could get a bounce, but we need to see that bounce, and we need to see it fast. The reason I have hesitations and the reason I'm turning my lights red today is just for the most simple reason that I've discussed on this channel for literally the last 4 years. And since we started this channel during a bear market, we found a low. One thing that I have discussed for the longest time is Bitcoin from its lows to its highs lasts in a bull market for about 1,065 days. Okay? And so 1,065 days was the last cycle, 1,000, maybe 71. But going from the low to where we're at today, we've already been in this one for 1,070 something days, almost 1,080 days. Technically, that's the bull market. And the sand has run out of the hourglass, according to that 1,065 day thing. So why are you calling now for a 70% retracement? This time it's different. There's institutions buying crypto. I'm a crypto bull, by the way, with red lights, mind you. I'm a crypto bull. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. You guys need to know that. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on the crypto industry. We've seen a lot of innovation in this space. Can you believe that the market cap of crypto got all the way up to $4.25 trillion? It's unbelievable. But why am I talking about a 70% retracement? Because from the highs to the lows, we've seen 70% retracements for Bitcoin. We've seen them more than once. In fact, we've seen 80% crashes. Now, can Bitcoin crash 70 or 80% from here? Well, if it crashed 70 or 80% from here, that would take us down into the 20s and the 18s. I don't think we go that low. I'm not talking about a 70% crash from here. I'm talking about a 70% crash from the highs, because the 70% crash from the highs brings Bitcoin back down to, $38,000 is kind of a logical level. $35,000, $38,000, $40,000. I don't want to see it go that low. But that's what we've seen historically. And then some people are going to go, well, and could we get a bounce here? Yes, we discussed this post right here. We've discussed the bull case, a bounce off the 50-week moving average. Okay, I've talked about that now. Great. Let's talk about this. Here's other folks saying, multiple closes below the 50-week moving average would confirm the top being in. Regardless of whether the top is in or if we go slightly higher, I think that 2026 is in a bear market. This guy's been extremely accurate. I've agreed with a lot of things that this individual said. He's been insanely accurate. I think 2026 is a bear market, guys. Okay. That's just how this market has worked, just like all prior midterm years. We have always seen a bear market after this 1,065 days is up. Midterm years, you see bear markets. This is just what happens. And now what we've got going on is we've got Jim Cramer coming out today. And Jim Cramer is discussing potentially this being a bear market. We got Jim Cramer coming out. I've got that story pulled up. He's talking about this being in a bear market territory. Let's go over to this story real quick. Some people are saying, okay, well, this time is different because institutions are going to diamond hand their crypto. Company sells 970 Bitcoin. Sequans Communications offloaded 970 BTC, cutting its debt to 94.5 million, the first Bitcoin treasury to sell its holdings. And the phrase here is the first Bitcoin treasury to sell its holdings. There are going to be Bitcoin treasuries that are not willing to hold through a 70% crash. There's a chance it crashes more than 70% because these treasuries we thought were going to diamond hand might sell big amounts. Does this mean that Bitcoin is done? Does this mean that crypto's cooked? I don't think so. There has been some negative news lately, like the Binance CEO is having to dismiss claims that the firm boosted the president's crypto venture. CZ gets pardoned. Things are getting sloppy. The president went on 60 Minutes saying, I don't know who CZ is. He clearly knows who CZ is. This is a really wild time. Now, I am shorting Bitcoin, so I'm currently in a profitable trade, 53% in the profit. I'm trading this over on Blowfin. And so if you guys want to trade in a bear market, you can trade even if the lights are red, even if the market's going down, you can trade to the downside. If we find a bounce, let's say we get a bounce off the 50-week moving average, you can trade the bounce off the 50-week moving average if you think it's going to bounce there. There are links in the description. You can sign up for Blowfin to get a $5,000 deposit bonus. And I think we've got a campaign coming soon for Blowfin because, again, in a bear market, I think you could trade as well. And it's super easy to sign up. You need like an email address. It's easy. And if we're not going into a continued bull market, then what we're left with is basically trading. Here's the S&P 500. It's red today. Here's the Dow Jones. It's red today. Here's the NASDAQ. It's red today. Gold is red today. The Russell's down today. NASDAQ leads U.S. stock retreat amid fresh doubts on rally. Wall Street CEOs warning brace for 10% pullback in stocks. There is chaos. There is fear. We have seen a very interesting thing. Maybe this gives us hope. I wanted to talk about Jim Cramer. I couldn't find that tweet. There it is. There's the post from Jim Cramer. Like he said last night, he's tweeting, anything consumer-oriented has seemed to have entered bear market territory. Just an incredible reversal. This is literally him over the weekend. We talked about this. Very discouraging close. Got to wait until Monday for a bounce, but what a month. He was looking for a bounce in the stock market. We got the opposite. And so maybe because he's entering bear market territory, maybe we're going to rally. Maybe the fear is so great in this market. Maybe since I turned these lights red and people are selling out of this market right now, maybe we're going to get a bounce. Here are the bull cases, okay, that remain. If the government shutdown ends, if the altcoin ETFs come out, and if quantitative tightening truly ends on December 1st, that could be a catalyst for a rally, but is that going to be stronger than the historical moves we've seen in this market that indicate the time is up. And the 1,065-day bull market has concluded. I have not really wanted to call it a bear market. I've been calling it about a 60% bear market vibe. That's what I've had, about 60% to 40% bull market. Today, I'm sitting at about an 80%. In my opinion, that we are going into a bear market. Could we get a bounce? Yes. Will we get a bounce? Probably at some point. There will be renewed optimism at some point. I don't think we get more bull market for Bitcoin, for me, with 80% certainty. I'm a bald guy on the internet. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give you financial advice. I love cryptocurrency. I think Bitcoin will recover. I think that when you are looking at this market, and if you are buying Bitcoin at the lows of a bear market, you always come out ahead, it seems. Because if you bought Bitcoin at the lows of the bear market, like my brother-in-law did, when I told him it's at $15,000, it's an incredible price, you're still at 546% on your Bitcoin. And even if we go down to $35,000, you're still going to be up 130% on your Bitcoin. You almost can't lose in a bear market if you buy Bitcoin at the lows. When does the lows happen? Well, the lows typically happen 385, 390 days after the highs. So if the top is in, and all the cycles and the theories that we've been talking about since we started this channel are true, then maybe you're looking for October 2026. That is about 390 days from now, 390 days from the top. October of 2026 could be when this thing gets going again. Not a very positive message, I know. I turn the lights red. That's going to make a lot of people upset. Bear markets make people upset. I get that. Regardless of how this market goes, guys, there are trading opportunities. I believe that. That's why I am currently in a short on Bitcoin. I had a 60% feeling this could happen. We've been talking about it. We are crashing right now. I feel 80% bear market vibes right now. That's me. That's how I feel. And so, prepare accordingly, right? And that's not telling you guys to panic sell. I can't make financial decisions for you. I'm not a financial advisor, but I want to speak freely. I want to speak truly on how I feel. The problem is if you see a bearish message right now and you sell and you're recovering, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I sold. So you have to make your own decisions. If we do go into a bear market, altcoins typically crash over 90%. Are you prepared to hold through that if that happens? If we go into a bear market, Bitcoin crashes 70%. That's what I led the video with. That's how I feel. Continue to do your own research, my friends. 2 videos here if you want to check them out. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel. DCA, HODL, if you want to. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace, y'all.